Book 6, A Moor in Manhattan. The White Horse Tavern, New Amsterdam, 1645. Hendrik Jansen. Jansen is a rascal. He is a horned beast, who's ailed us since sailed in his galley. A malignant spirit in our colony released in Anthony Mullato Von Sallee. Moneys are owed on ponies I've shod, from wheels I've spoked on his wagon, from the crops that he crushed when he tipsily trod on my plot as he chugged from his flagon. I'm still in arrears as he's footed the fine, still waiting to get compensated for the pistol he pointed whilst fuming on wine as my firewood stack liberated. Our courthouse is creaking with lawsuits of his and the shameful acts of his wife, and citizens of which now many there is are complaining of threats to their life. Take Uri and Hendricks, whom still owed a debt, and when the Lord ruled in his favour, by what did court, did jury get a dead goat as payment for labour? The plight of poor Portuguese Anthony, who was fond of the hog that he found, blooded as bitten so brutally by the Troublesome Turk's rabid hound. That pig that he loved and he nurtured, though he'd admit it were headed for ham, by the dog of the Moor it was murdered in the lanes of New Amsterdam. And what about Isaac Allerton, who'd in on a Mayflower sailed, from beaver skin trading onto barricading his businesses after being blackmailed? And I share wily Isaac's frustration, as oft the court seems to do naught. No conviction, hence no compensation, and Allerton's farm now's a fort. I say we raise men and go raid him. His disparaging reign is unchecked, with the pest and the pariah persuaded, by a beating he'd learn some respect. A posse, so he'll be persuaded, when lashed to an inch of his life, perchance after plantations raided, to subdue his disgraceful wife. For after the twain slightly tortured, should take the cyclone at her sail, and their stained graves end in their orchard, and peace in this place will prevail. Those two turbulent twats need degrading. Target him as the propelling force, which will cure when a gang goes a-raiding, to pull him off his massive horse. Philip Gerardi. As landlord of the White Horse Inn, I'll duly beg to differ, for which the worse, Greets or him, whore of Walter Van Twiller. Twiller's bitch on Die Zoetberg, a hustler hired for his cabin, who did the rounds with sailors bound from Holland to Manhattan, who did the rounds with sailors bound here and banged the builders, and merchant men and married men covertly gave her guilders. On that ship near half did tip Rayner's purse with coins. The butter whore who came here for reaped profits from her loins. For wed the Turk I had her work for me, and in this room, on that there stool I saw her rule, knobs upon my broom. As barmaid if 'twas soused parade, her exposed off-crowed peaches, and patrons swore the rabble's whore tugged shirts from out their breeches. And once returning from a hunt, I found two travellers toasting their tale which bordered on the blunt about the back room roasting, and Andre's Hud still swearing mud slung to smear his honour, when our priest here did overhear fucking Hud upon her. That wanton wench astride my bench humped him in that closet, the commissary a dromedary grunting his deposit. And now with child and Andrews filed his case to the commander. She's in a twiz whom the dad is, with Hud hollering gross slander. And on the dock she raised her frock, though on or on hip the baby, to half my flock flashed her fur sock, and startled half the navy. Shocked passengers on ferry boats, yet swears she on her life. The harlot hoisting petticoat is the reverend's wife. She's cranky and cantankerous, and delivers disrepute, and scandalous for that purpose, jail the prostitute. Domini Everardus Bogardus. I've complained unto the company of the governor's rotten rapport, and the shambolic state of our colony, Kieft caused by his Indian war, about William Kieft and his temper, his beer tax which burdens our load, goaded to war with a Wappinger by that warrior painted with woad. I've said it 6 times from my pulpit, that the slaughter of Swiss clay Swits, by him which from Westinger geek is evidence Satan exists, manifesting himself in the Moslem, who remarkably remains unscathed, out there in the wilds of Brooklyn, untouched from Lenape raids. Moody and him unmolested. Does no one think that is strange? Those two whence here came detested, yet in savage lands out arrows range. Some say he's a dangerous woman, I say she's a competent witch, and I swear it's some sort of omen that parallel pegged their pitch. A foreboding as they are now neighbours, a warning they now accord. So yes to invest in invaders, but they'll need the aid of the Lord. So I'll pray and donate the collection, for mercering pay for the raid, and I'll preach it is there for protection, to finance a Calvin crusade. Muslims, Anabaptists and Quakers, and those who choose not to believe, can up off their donated acres, and away from that Long Island leave. For fancy a female for a founder of the village that you've settled at. Imagine rallying around her, that difficult aristocrat. And yet both of them thriving, on gaining of late prosperous, as both of those settlements striving, promoting profane tolerance. The Turk who against me vents libel, spreads lies whenever he can. He who despises the Bible and openly quotes the Koran. He who behaves as if tribal must feel the full force of God's plan. Lady Moody and her nonconformists, the Jansoons and their kin in their lair, will find them for failing of harvests when hit with the power of prayer. Andre's shotting. Caution, comrades, with the Turk, for he hath now his brother, and Abraham is more berserk. Calm down, and down another. Landlord, raise a round of ale to drain these thoughts you harbour. Then let me tell you of my tale, a roving with John Barber. John Barber of Barbaria, near 9 lives Janzoon, and why you should be wary of this talk outside this room. Compadres lone and avid here, past tit for tat distraction, to hear of the coiffed buccaneer before talk gathers traction. I sailed aside the hairdresser on many an enterprise. I felt the rising air pressure whence he spied a prize. Should sink with a barometer, fair weather thus ensued. I notice as the chronicler, if fair his attitude, but storms and in discomfiture, if foul became his mood. 'Twas if he'd had a genie, or controlled an unseen djinn, and some anti-Celestine that bent things to his whim. And an invisible magician, like an eerie whisperer, for that phantom apparition was Janzoon's deliverer. We sailed our course, we felt its force, sensed its malign presence, not seen nor heard, but something word like floating effervescence. Not seen nor smelt, but something dwelt about him like a cloak, which saved his neck 6 times on deck as supernatural smoke.